running ads for a client on Amazon, Walmart, or Costco involves three very different ecosystems, each one with their own rules, capabilities, targeting, and of course, maturity. Some of these are very, very new and they don't have all the same features that, say, Google's ad platform does or Meta's ad platform does. So I just want to do a high level breakdown. This is down and dirty, nothing fancy about each one and their differences. So Amazon ads, it is obviously the most mature out of the three in terms of advertising tools, data, and scale. The platform is broken down to two parts. One is Amazon's advertising console, which is for sellers, vendors, and then Amazon's DSP, which is for display retargeting off of Amazon. So when I say DSP, I mean like OTT programmatic targeting, like Google's display now, but it reaches more than just Amazon's owned properties, which nowadays Amazon owns quite a lot. So let's go into ad types. You can have sponsored products, which is most common. That's when you're scrolling through Amazon and you type in a keyword like screwdriver, and then you see a sponsored, listing for screwdriver right there on top. Sponsored brands, those are banner ads with logo and product. So that would be like if you typed in say cutting knives and was a sponsored banner image up there at the top. Almost lost my train of thought there. Sponsored display, that's retargeting. So that's after you click into a product listing or an ad, you get retargeted, right? So if you clicked at some point to look at those screwdrivers, you're now going to get ads about those screwdrivers if anyone is remotely looking for something similar or akin to screwdrivers or tools. And then you also have video ads, which basically that's on Prime and Fire TV, things like that, Prime Video. Considerations that you really need to think through if you're going to be pitching this and the items that you need to run, because it's not, nothing's ever just pure clicking a button and bidding on keywords and your ad shows up to the top, right? So search intent is very, very high when it comes to Amazon PPC. Why? Because people are there to buy, right? Very, very rarely are people just there doing research thinking about buying a screwdriver. They need a screwdriver. Now they're choosing which screwdriver is the best, right? And they're doing some analysis and some comparison, but they need a screwdriver at the end of the day. Targeting for the keywords is crucial. Please, please, please do not just do automatic with no manual overview. I like automatic. It has its benefits, especially if you're dealing in some larger budgets, but manual usually wins every time, or at least a combination between manual and automatic, depending on what you're selling. Amazon A+ content, product page optimizations directly impact ad success. You need to fill out the rest of your Amazon listings, because what you're doing is you're sponsoring your organic listings and you're pushing them through, and you need to make sure you have all the content filled out. This is when you scroll down the page and you see, people holding the product or people using the product. And a lot of times it's Photoshop images. We all seen that, but you need that to fill up the page. If you have a sparse Amazon product page, whether it's being advertised or whether people find it organically, it's going to sell less, right? Because everywhere else on Amazon, the more features, the more images, the more specs that you can add to it, the more reviews, the more anything, right? People will stay on that page for longer, think about it for longer, and you'll find that your purchases go. Beware of buy box ownership. If your client doesn't have it, their ads may not serve. We can talk about that in another video. That's a whole thing in of itself. Reviews and ratings heavily influence ad performance. If you have 3-star reviews, I guarantee you just expect to get 50% less sales than what you're used to. Guaranteed. People go and they will look at the bad reviews. And then now with Amazon's new AI review search, where you can search and it just tells you what the good and pros and cons about this product are, it's going to pull the negative. It's going to pull the negative stuff. So you need your positive reviews to outweigh your negative. Let's talk about budget for a little bit for Amazon ads. The cost per clicks, they do vary by niche. I don't want you to think that you can have $1 CPCs if you're selling a high ticket product, say like a pool or shed or something like that, right? That's usually in like the high hundreds, low thousands. But on average, 50 cents to $2.50 is quite common. So I would always, estimate on the high end or promise an over deliver agency owner. Expect 15 to 30% of total sales to go toward ad spend for scaling brands. So this is a machine, right? This is a engine where you put in $1, you get 3 back. You have to take at least, 1/3 of that and put it back into your ad spend for future sales. You have to. That's the game when it comes to e-commerce. People won't know or choose your product or your brand unless you have a really strong brand, unless you're, Coca-Cola, Cutco, or gosh, it doesn't really matter. But most brands that we're dealing with, they don't have that presence, right? Not North Face. You're not going to sell just because you're some competitor of North Face. Let's talk about Walmart Connect for a minute, right? I think you spend enough time on Amazon. Walmart is rapidly catching up. It is growing fast, obviously, because it's the second competitor to Amazon, but it's still behind in terms of what features advertisers are able to leverage, unfortunately. Also, when it comes to the platform itself, it is self-serve, right? Just like Amazon, which is nice. I'll give you a hint, Costco is not self-serve, which kind of sucks. But the ad types are a little bit more limited. So you only have sponsored search ads through product listings, same thing as Amazon, display ads on Walmart.com and offsite via DSP. Again, talking about that display network. And then in-store placements, that's unique, that Amazon doesn't have, because Amazon doesn't, really have stores. I guess Whole Foods, if you count that. But for the in-store placements, I would say if you're dealing with large amounts of ad spend, and that you're also looking to get featured on those shelves and buy some shelf space, yeah, Walmart Connect campaigns. But it doesn't have like video ads, unfortunately. I mean, you can kind of do video ads through display, but it's not through things like, Prime Video, which is huge, or Amazon Fire. But here's some key considerations. I think the buy box is mandatory for ads to run. Let's assume that that's already one. You need to be a Walmart marketplace seller or supplier, right? So that's getting the verification system, get that set through. Let's assume that that's already happened. Lower traffic. So this is something that people forget. You're not going to get the same numbers on Walmart that you're going to get on Amazon, right? People scroll Amazon looking for stuff all the time. I mean, you can almost count as a social media platform at this point, but people don't go to Walmart's app, just to scroll and look at stuff. But because there's less competition, lower cost per clicks, which is pretty nice. So reporting is very basic. Don't expect anything crazy in terms of attribution. It's just not there. Hopefully one day soon, but love it if it were caught up to what Amazon's got, or even what Facebook or Google. Per clicks are lower, 30 cents to $1.50, which is pretty nice. It is amazing for testing new products if the client's already selling on Walmart. It's also great when you have a winning product on Amazon and you want to just shove it over to Walmart and there's search traffic for it. But don't make Walmart your bread and butter, right? Don't make that a channel that you're absolutely relying on. Amazon's probably going to hold more of the weight. Costco, it's coming up. It's coming up. There's talk about it, but it is not self-serve, right? So me or my team, we can't just go in and just be in a Costco ads platform. So it's definitely more for relationships, kind of old school, for the old school way that via partnerships and retail develop relationships, showing their product. You can run ads. They are run through the Costco Media Network, but it's in partnership with Stackline or Criteo currently. So basically, you give Costco your bid, you give them all the information, the images, everything, you work with them, and then you launch it, but you're not adjusting spends, you're not controlling it a whole lot, and the reporting is pretty abysmal. The ad types are, digital display banners, email placements, in-warehouse TV screens, sponsor placements with Costco.com. I'd strongly recommend, again, that the product that you're using for this is well known, right? If it's not well known or well used, it's probably going to fall flat on its face with Costco, unfortunately. So again, very limited targeting, usually by category or audience segments. It's extremely selective. Again, if it's not well known, they're not going to give you time of day. But the product also must be listed in Costco.com or in the store. Focus again is on brand lift, not performance marketing. Don't hard to track ROAS, nearly impossible to track ROAS. So just know that if you're going Costco, you need to have high spends, often 50K plus just for a single media buy. Great for enterprise level. I'm telling you, if you get into Costco, you're going to move product, right? But if you don't have those spends, if you're not well known as a brand, and you don't already have an audience back behind you and a loyal customer base, probably just not going to work. So what's my recommendation? If you're to do all three, and let's say you meet all the requirements for each, distribution is tricky on Walmart and nearly impossible on Costco. Amazon's ecosystem is great for performance-driven campaigns, even with smaller budgets. Walmart's better for challenger brands like up and coming brands. Think about different water bottles that are trying to challenge Stanley, and by just creating kind of a dupe or a knockoff, I think that could work really well. But Costco is really just a brand play if you already have a brand behind you. So prioritize Amazon, control your return on ad spend, much easier there. Walmart's great for low cost per click, and then Costco is great for branding and moving product if you already have a brand behind you. At the end of the day, these are just my thoughts, my opinions. I would do. My name's Zach, and I run a white label marketing agency, and we work with 200 plus other marketing agencies, helping them with their white label Amazon ads, white label Walmart ads, white label Costco, media relations, and we also do white label SEO and white label web dev. At the end of the day, we're just marketers trying to help other marketers, and I hope this served you and your agency well. Have a good one.